You're listening to Sister Stargazers, celestial and terrestrial observations and advice from two real-life sisters. Welcome, fellow stargazers. Your sisters are in the house. Hello, Jude. Happy spring.
Hey, Sarah. Happy spring. Back to you.
Thanks. This is our equinox edition. We're at episode 80. I can't believe it. Sunday, March 19th through Saturday, March 25th. We have a new moon. We have the spring equinox, the vernal equinox. We have Pluto moving into a major new relationship. Where do you want to start this week?
Yeah, and we have Mars entering Cancer.
Ah, yes.
So there's like, this whole week is loaded. It's just loaded. I would call this like World Axis Activation Week.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, because 3 out of the 4 cardinal signs are going to be highlighted.
Okay.
I mean, we can start on Sunday, March 19th with Mercury entering Aries. Okay. Which is the world axis point. It's 0 degrees Aries. It's the first degree of the zodiac. And so anything at 0 degrees of a cardinal sign will stimulate not only the beginning of something on the personal level, but also on the collective level, because the cardinal signs move everything forward. So when you have a 0 degree point activated, and especially in this particular chart, we have 0 degrees of Aries activated, 0 degrees of Mars activated, and then over in Libra, we have Ceres, the asteroid goddess of harvest and food and abundance, at 0 degrees Libra. And they're all talking to each other.
Right.
So we have a lot of power in this chart to change, to move something forward, to move the needle from where it's been. That's why I'm calling this a world axis activation. It's not only a personal activation, but it's also a public activation. Yeah. When you have these 0 degrees points activated, it's very much something that affects everyone, not just you personally, although it can affect you personally, but it's going to also affect everyone around you. Yeah. So Mercury kicks it off by entering Aries. The moon enters Pisces and conjuncts Saturn. So Saturn has just moved into Pisces. This is another shift that's palpable. You may have been taking stock over the last several weeks. I know we've talked about that, of what has happened over the last 2.5 years while Saturn was in Aquarius. Yeah. And now Pluto's going to be moving in there, right? And Saturn now has moved into Pisces. So the moon is now activating and touching on Saturn, which gives, in Pisces, it's going to give a sense of tenderness, or it might be emotional, but you also have a sense of it being very rational in a way. Like you don't lose, your emotions. You're holding your emotions. So this kind of sets the stage, I think, for the March equinox. Yeah. As the sun enters Aries the next day at 5:24 p.m.
Eastern.
Yes, Eastern time. It's this time to focus on assertive projects that maybe you've wanted to get started, and something that brings you a lot of joy, that there's a lot of power as the sun enters Aries to start to implement something. So it also can be an impetuousness. But the next day, what happens is the moon comes in. It makes a conjunction to Neptune, which is in Pisces. So it leaves the conjunction with Saturn. It moves into this conjunction with Neptune, which again kind of anchors these feelings, kind of this emotionality. And then it makes a sextile to Pluto, which is really digging deep into our emotional kind of shadow stuff that stuff we may not want to really see. And then it makes a conjunction with the sun at 0 degrees Aries. Okay. So there's a lot packed right into that little slice. At the end of Pisces is Neptune. And as the sun comes through there and makes that conjunction to Neptune, and we feel this emotion, and then moves right across that Aries line and hits up with the sun, it's like all of that emotion is ignited in some way for change, right?
Yeah, okay.
While this new moon is conjuncting the sun, it's within a wide aspect or separating aspect, but it's still within orb of being in a conjunction with Neptune. It's making a sextile to Pluto. It's making an opposition to Ceres, and it's making a square to Mars.
Yeah.
At the time of this equinox, we have this new moon that's activating in a very personal way this position of this T square that where Mars is almost into Cancer, will be into Cancer at the end of the week, but it's at 27 degrees Gemini now. Mars is taking a square from Ceres, and Mars is making a square to the moon and the sun and Neptune. So you have this sense of wanting to move forward, but also being very confused. Mars is the square from Mars in Gemini is causing a lot of confusion. Who said what? Yeah. Who did what when? Who made that comment? I didn't say that.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of this denial. There's a lot of confusion. There might be a lot of misunderstanding. The other thing that's happening at this time is that Mars is in the sign of Gemini, which is ruled by Mercury.
Yes.
Mercury is in the sign of Aries, which is ruled by Mars.
I love that. That's interesting.
It's called mutual reception. And it's when two planets they could swap places because one of them is in the sign that the other one rules.
Yes.
So right now, we could have, at this time of this equinox, we could also have a war of words, which is not going to be productive.
Yeah.
There's the potential for arguments because it's a square aspect. Plus, the arguments can create misinformation, disinformation, confusion. What is truth? What is reality? What is real? What is not real? That's also part of this equinox picture, as well as wanting to fix something, wanting to change something. Yeah, that's a tremendous amount of power in just those, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Well, I did ask for a card for the equinox, and the Ace of Wands came up. And we did talk about that there's a lot going on in Aries, that being grounded is really important this week with all the feeling, and that the Ace of Wands is you called it like an activation card.
Yeah, the Ace of Wands is related to the fire element. The wands are. So again, it's kind of this fiery energy to initiate, to start something. It's a beautiful image of this kind of fruiting, flowering, leafy wand, which is being held high over the landscape, which I think is so interesting because we have Ceres in Libra, which is what is fair, what is right, what is just for the land.
Yes, absolutely.
For the earth. And the other point that you mentioned that you brought up was the asteroid goddess Pallas Athene is at 15 degrees of Cancer. And she's making a quintile back to Venus and Juno and the North Node, all three of them in a stellium in Taurus, which is also the land.
Yes.
So it's highlighting, our value, our respect, our honor, our support for the land, what is right, what is just, that's Juno.
Yes.
What is in partnership, what is in right relation to our earth. These are really big themes, I think, that are going to be coming up over the course of this equinox, the next 3 months, which is what this equinox chart is really addressing.
Yes. Yes. And also, with the Ace of Wands, to me, it's almost like a magic wand, the way it's kind of coming out of the sky. And it looks like a magic wand. And this idea of harnessing a creative power and maybe some divine feminine magic to move forward when we activate, to be calling upon nature, calling upon divine feminine wisdom. I wrote down the grandmothers, women, and children, something about the knowledge and the wisdom of passing up from the ancestors or down from the ancestors, something about harnessing that creative power as we move forward to find innovative ways And then staying grounded in this equinox energy, going out, this idea of the tree, as the trees are in bloom, walking in nature, rediscovering nature, feet on the ground, hands against a tree trunk, finding our connection back to earth.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and really, really noticing how much is out of balance, that we need to rebalance.
Awesome.
I think that's also what Ceres is saying in Libra, the sign of the scales, the sign of balance,
yes.
right? At 0 degrees, completely on a seesaw, opposing the sun and the moon and Neptune and Mercury there, going, okay, there's something has activated at tipping point.
Yeah.
And it has something to do with Mars is irrational. It's been backwards and forwards in Gemini, which is about transportation and communication.
Yeah.
And so there might be a lot that we can do. We might feel we can't do anything, but there's a lot I think we can do if we harness a local perspective, which is what Gemini can offer us. It doesn't have to be, we don't have to go out and fix the world, but we can work with something, right in our neighborhood.
Yeah.
Or in our building, if we're in a building with other people, what can we do? How can we work together? And maybe it's a community garden.
Yes.
Maybe it's a shopping service or something where we're looking after each other, sharing resources or bulk buying or, there's something in all of that, steps we can take to work on making things more equitable, more fair, more holistic approach, more in reflecting of what we truly value, which is, our planet.
And hopefully each other. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Absolutely.
Is this a possible segue now to Pluto moving into Aquarius, which is about innovation? And is this another kind of push of activation, Pluto moving into Aquarius?
It's definitely another point to consider. It's going to change everything. If you look back at how Pluto changed everything in the banking industry, well, maybe not, maybe it didn't change anything in the banking industry, but how it upset, in many respects, every institutional organization in our culture over since 2008, right? So it's been in the last 14 years, it's been in Capricorn, and it's been taking things down or bringing up the negativity to light so that it's so obvious, it cannot be ignored, right? Things have to change. They have to be broken down and reassembled. And so there's a lot of that energy that Pluto does, breaking down, reassembling, going into Aquarius, which is the sign of the collective, the public, the people. And so the last time Pluto transited Aquarius, so no one is alive on the planet that has, we've never experienced this before. So the last time Pluto transited through Aquarius was from 1778 to 1798.
Wow.
So pertinent events during those years included the ratification of the United States Constitution and the creation of the Bill of Rights, the Industrial Revolution, when steam-powered revolutionized transport. So we've got steam power was the train system, basically, right?
Yep.
And textiles, the weaving of textiles. So you see how the technology was revolutionized.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
And so was the governance, the way society was governed. Those were revolutionized. And not without a fight. Okay, that's another piece of this. And with steam power and the revolution of transport and the mechanization of manufacturing, there were other abuses that, slave labor and child labor and all of that. As time went on here during the course of this transit, states shifted their understanding of individual rights, and the state of Virginia was the first U.S. state to abolish the slave trade in 1778. And Denmark became the first nation to likewise make the sale of humans illegal in 1792. So there's this push towards individualism and also rationalism. So this was the age of enlightenment, right? The age of reason. So there's a lot to unpack with, we could do a whole show.
Yes.
Because a lot of folks are talking about AI.
Yes, right. Yeah.
Chat GPT.
GPT. Yep.
And how that's coming in to revolutionize any of the manufacturing going forward, and even in not just in the physical manufacturing of stuff, but in services and products that are intellectually created.
Sure. Yeah.
Right? So artists, writers, everybody's worried about losing their jobs, basically.
Right.
Teachers, so this is a total revolution in how we move forward. So anyway, that's part of that's just a little snippet of what Pluto's doing in Aquarius.
Yeah.
And he's going to hover over that 0 degree mark for a while. Pluto won't actually go into Aquarius for good until 2024.
It seems like that 0 degree is a bit of like a magic window, or like a holding up what is possible. It's almost like we get a sneak peek into Pluto in Aquarius, like a crack in the atmosphere happens, and it's like, look what's possible. Here are the things that are possible. And I guess it's going to be up to us to decide how we want to move forward with Pluto through Aquarius.
Oh, yeah. I think there's going to be a lot of sorting out to do. Yeah. Absolutely.
Anything else for this week?
No, we're good. We're good. This is a loaded week. Mars is moving into Cancer.
Yeah.
It's not its favorite place to be, but Mars moving into Cancer will highlight the things that we need to take care of, and it will make us work on those things.
Listeners, if you'd like to reach out to us, please send us an email at connect@sisterstargazers.com. Don't forget to tune in on Monday nights on WMPG.org for a live deep dive of the week on our Sister Stargazers radio show. Questions, comments, you can visit our website, www.sisterstargazers.com. Learn more about us, what we do. The podcast is also there. And thanks for listening in. Jude, thank you for the equinox preview.
Yeah, it's a big week. Get a lot of rest, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye for now.
Thanks for listening to Sister Stargazers. Let us know what worked for you this week. Find us on Facebook and post a comment at Sister Stargazers.